Hi everyone, welcome to Entrepreneur Insight Straight Talk. For this episode tonight, we have a special guest. Our special guest tonight is Andy Chin. He is the Vice President of Marketing for Mr. DIY Group. Mr. Andy, welcome to the show.
Hi, KK. First of all, thanks for having me today on this platform to share a little bit of insights about the retail industry, and then something that happened to us within the industry and the community. Yeah. So thanks for organizing the show. It's very insightful. Yeah, and I think some of our insights and feedback is able, to help a lot of different people and also retailers in the market.
Yes, Andy, it's our honor to have you. First off, of course, some backstory, a little bit about Mr. DIY Group. Of course, right now they have about 560 outlets throughout Malaysia, and they are employing more than 10,000 employees. So first off, Andy, what is your take on this economic landscape in months to come with this COVID-19 pandemic?
On this economic landscape and impact, right? Our view is a bit quite different, right? I would generally split into three stages, right? Actually, the impact has started since China is facing lockdown, because China is the world factory. A lot of products or raw material is actually from China. So when China has a full lockdown since February 2020, in fact, the supply chain actually get disrupted, right? A lot of businesses after CNY, they have shortages of products, and then certain raw material is not on time, and so on and so forth. So I think that was the first impact that struck to Malaysia market or the whole Southeast Asia market in the very, very early stage. And then the second stage will be during Malaysian government announced the MCO lockdown for 14 days. So I guess retailer like Mr. DIY, at right now, all our 560 retail stores are closed, right? We are not allowed to operate during this period. Only our e-commerce store is still operating. So actually we are facing, all the stores are closed, and then the rent is still ongoing, and then we still need to pay our salary, and then pay to our supplier, and etc. So all these things is happening together. And lastly, I think when the MCO lockdown period finish, then it will go into the recovery period. I believe a lot of industry would need to take at least 3 to 6 month time to go back to a proper stage. And of course, this will be vary between different industry. If it's the airline industry or the tourism industry, of course, the impact is much bigger. But from as a home improvement retailer, because we are selling necessity, and people's lives still have to go on. Hence, we believe that when the lockdown period is ended, very quickly our business can go back to normal. In fact, actually, when the government just released the second phase of lockdown rules this week, some of our stores are allowed to open. So for hardware stores, we are allowed to open twice a week. So today we have some stores opening in Perak, and then tomorrow we have some in other states and so on. So we can see that the things is coming back, right? We can see that people wanted, and people start to have demand on all these home necessity. So this is my view on the three stages that we are facing right now. Yeah, of course, and then we also have, from a macro level, we know that the current large-scale disruptions of economic activities would continue for most of the year, right? And before a partial recovery towards the year end, as what I have discussed earlier. And according to World Bank, our GDP would decrease from 4.5% to negative 0.2% in worst scenario. So this is actually something very, very big. And this is going to affect how people spend in the future month for sure.
Yeah. Andy, so coming back to, if we were to bring back the perspective to your company per se, Mr. DIY Group, how does it affect your overall business, and what steps or measurement have you all undertaken to minimize the impact of this COVID-19?
Okay. So when this thing started, actually we have been in a preparation mode for quite a while. So we start to do a lot of scenario planning. And in fact, before the government announced a national lockdown, thankfully our team has actually, prepared everything and make everything pre-planned in advance. So on the downside, on the bad things is all our retail stores are closed for 28 days. Okay. So yeah, we don't have the retail store income coming in these 28 days. However, we see a very overwhelming response of the traffic to our online business. We see a lot of demands actually coming in to buy things online. So people are actually changing behavior, or I would say people have no choice. So they still wanted to buy things for their home, and then they start to go to our online channel. So thankfully, we have set up all these things many years ago. So this is like the correct moment it comes up.
Yes.
So on what steps of measurement have we taken, right? So I think we did pretty much on that. First of all, we try to think of at current moment, what are the product people wanted to buy, right? Before the lockdowns happened, we start to think of what are the essential products people need? What are the things that people will use for panic purchase? So we start to, start taking in these things and offer to our customer and put in very, very visible area to make sure everyone can get those things in at the fastest time. So we also offer household essential products such as face masks, sanitizers, cleaning and protections, all these products, because we forecast the high demand is coming in, right? And then apart from that, we've seen a overwhelming response on e-commerce, and this is the best time to tighten the loose end of e-commerce, as many customers, they start to switch buying behavior online, right? And then we need to make sure that our website is ready to accept high traffic, because the worst things happen is you have big traffic coming in, taken in advance, right? And then apart from that, I think we also try something new. Trying something new, this is probably one of the moments that we try the most new things, right? Everyone is involving trying different new things. So we just came out with corporate bulk order program recently, and the response is actually overwhelming. So what we do is actually, we try to buy in things, source in face masks, hand sanitizers, even face shield from China, bringing in by plane, right? And we have booked up to, I think, close to 20 planes so far, just to handle all this, bulk order. And then we work with different corporates in Malaysia to sell face masks, and then hand sanitizers and other things in huge volume. So we provide these surveys and additional surveys to help the corporate world on what are the things they can get from us in bulk quantity, because it's very difficult. When we start putting face masks online, in one day, just in one day, we can sell more than 10,000 boxes, right? So how do these corporate customers is going to get this? You cannot stay in front of your computer and then just to wait for that, right? So we need to start an additional department, temporary department, just to handle the corporate order item. And lastly, most important, we actually allocate a lot of resources to focus on CSR, right? As always, we believe in giving back to the community. who has been very, very close to us. And this is the time we need to lend our helping hands to them when they are in needs.
And maybe you can share with us what are the initiative, the CSR campaign that is undertaken by Mr. DIY Group?
Sure. I think when the lockdown first started, if you've seen the news on social media, most of the hospitals, they are out of face shield, right? So people start DIYing that, right? They get raw material and then they start doing that. But all our stores are actually instructed to close. So it's actually very difficult for them to buy these things. So a lot of hospital and NGO actually contacted us. And then we sponsor these raw materials such as sponge, rubber band, and the plastic cover for them to DIY the face shield. So there are certain batch in the very early stage is actually from Mr. DIY. The bigger one is also happened recently. We are helping the Age COVID-19 Fund on sourcing. Right, so we actually assisted the Age COVID-19 Fund as a logistic provider. We helped them to import 1 million face masks and 35,000 PPE from China and send it by plane. And then we also act as a logistic partner to distribute all the face masks to more than 30 hospitals in Malaysia. So these are one of it. And then on top of that, we actually also contributed 1,000 PPE to 6 hospitals in Kuala Lumpur. And we provided additionally 300,000 free face masks to support our frontliners, such as the police, hospital. And so of course, our efforts are small compared to those the frontliners are dealing with on a daily basis. But we really help. We really hope what we are trying to help right now can actually decrease their burden on the sourcing and they face safe to work. And I think before this thing started, when we talk about early planning, I think in February, we actually also give away 3.5 million face masks to the public in February 2020, when the COVID-19 actually just start to come up. So we look at what we have in our inventory, and then we declare to give it all for free to the public. Yeah. So those are the early initiative, and the current initiative that we are running and still ongoing right now.
Yeah, Andy, what do you think, in your opinion, how will the way we do business or the business model change after this? Because you see, it takes 21 days for us to form a habit. And now we are on, I think the 17 or 18 days already of our MCO. And a lot of things in terms of consumption behavior has changed. For example, most of the people that don't cook now become a chef already at home. And a lot of times we tend to shop online, be it on the necessity as well as not so non-necessity items. So in your view, what are the things that will be changing after this?
I think a lot of things will change. So if we read back what happened during the SARS period in Hong Kong, right? I think the shopping behavior and then how people lifestyle is actually a lot affected by what happened at that time. And there's a lot of similarity between the previous pandemic and the current one that we are facing. So I think as a retailer, I will actually share more from a retail perspective, right, on the changes on consumer behavior and what we see and we anticipate that is coming up after that. First of all, I think that cashless payment will be the new thing. Cashless payment actually is already doing very well. I'm talking about mobile e-wallets, all this kind of payment, because people nowadays they wanted to avoid or avoid contact, right? So e-wallets payments you can avoid, and then to reduce contact using real money. So that will be picking up for sure after this period. And I think for 1 or 2 years you will see a lot of improvement on this. And then second things, to address the labor problem, the shortages problem that a lot of companies is facing right now. Robotic and IR 4.0 is the next key, right? Think about if you have a manufacturing plant, you don't have people to work. How painful is that, right? So if you have a fully robotic line, you can have a good social distance. And I think that is the things that a lot of business owners start seeing, right? Robotic that, you can try to minimize the workforce, whether it's in the warehouse or maybe in a factory. I think those are the things that business owner will start to think about, were willing to invest and willing to to really push forward. And then from the consumer point of view, we think that consumer will opt for healthy buying behaviors. People will continue to buy hand sanitizers or even wearing masks or others cleaning products for personal and household users. And this, I think, will
continue
at least for the next 6 months. So a lot of businesses, I think, if you have an offer bin in front of your store, just go with this item. It will go out for sure, right? When we in fact, right, we have 14,900 SKU in our store. In our e-commerce website, actually what we did is we disable everything, and then we only focus on 2 items: face masks and hand sanitizers.
Oh, okay.
And it's still, it's still overwhelming because this is what people need right now. And because of this, I think this is going to be in someone's heads for very, very long. If we use SARS case study as an example, right? And lastly, I think consumer will opt for less face-to-face contact surveys, right? So you may businesses can maybe start to think of order by phone, right? People don't want to go there and wait to avoid public contact. Order by phone can be a trend, and then maybe you can set up a drive-through corner. People can order and then they will come and then they pick up their things just to minimize the contact. And lastly, personal shopper. I think personal shopper will be a new trend. People at this moment already know how to write what they want. It's just like what you see when people share on the social media, right? You see a lot of when government restrict, only the husband is allowed to come out to buy stuff. So he have a long list, and then he have to call his wife and then to verify. This is one like personal shopper experience. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the wife now know how to write the thing, and then if the husband is willing to pay and can get someone just to buy everything and send it to your house, that will be the next trend. And we can see a lot of businesses, not only in Malaysia, in Southeast Asia, start to implement this. And this is also depends on what are the regulations they are facing in their country.
True.
So I think these are the 4 main things that the business model will change after this.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the sharing. Andy, stimulus package number 4, which was just announced by our PM, is called Prihatin Perusahaan Kecil dan Sederhana. It covers 2 main things I think quite relevant to you. Maybe you can help us to comment on that. First, of course, will be the wage subsidy for company that has over 200 workers. Will get a subsidy of 600 per workers. Up to 200 packs. And also the other thing will be on the this rental deduction, rental waiver or rental deduction. GLC landlord giving some of the GLC landlord giving some rental waivers or rental deduction. And the government side also encourage most of the private landlords, commercial landlords, to follow suit with a tax deduction for rental waive during April to June 2020, but the pre-tax here is they have to give out minimum 30% of discount in terms of the rental reduction. Maybe you can help us to comment on these 2 main points.
Yeah, so I think Prime Minister also just announced the plan to help to boost economy. As you know, a lot of majority of the businesses in Malaysia is formed by SME.
Yes.
I think that is super helpful from the SME per se. There are a lot of additional support that is provided to them. And then from our business perspective, right?
Yes.
I think what is really useful will be the rental deduction thing. Because we deal with a lot of landlords, right? Different landlords. Of course, the government have announced that any GLCs related property you will enjoy a free rental for 6 months. And then government also encourage or provide tax refund for others landlords to provide something similar to their tenant.
Yes.
So in general, even before this announcement happened, we already have a lot of chit chat with the landlords. And actually a lot of landlords, they are in the midst of preparing a better deal for us, right? Some they say, okay, I can give you, full waiver. Some they are still talking about that. But I think once after the Prime Minister has announced the plan, I think more landlords will actually be together to take initiative to help that tenant. And it's really important because rental is one of the biggest costs for a lot of retailers. And if this burden couldn't be shared across the business community, right? We are talking about sharing the burden, right?
Yes.
Then it's very difficult because now the government is trying to help. The government is trying to share the burden. And then the landlord will also need to start to think of some initiative so that the small businesses, the big businesses, the tenant, everyone, they can, sustain in this really difficult period. And then we can go through that together. So that is for the rental deductions.
Yes.
And then on the subsidies of salary for employees, as you know, we are quite a huge organizations in terms of the manpower. So the subsidy we are receiving on this, I think right now is not significant. Of course, I need to further check with our finance and others department to see what are the arrangements that we are really enjoying, because the news is just came out, not over 24 hours. So a lot of things we still need to check. But I think, in my opinion, the rental deductions will give us a more significant impact and benefit. Compared to the subsidies of salary. And I think the whole initiative is impactful to help the SME in Malaysia. As I mentioned, majority of the businesses, I think we are more than 80%, if not mistaken, are actually from SME. And this will be helpful for small business owner to go through the difficult time.
Yeah, Andy, what do you think government can do? Which means any additional things that you think government can help most of the entrepreneurs or businesses about your size to go through this crisis?
On that point, right, we actually think on it's not specifically just on our businesses, because our businesses, we serve the entire community, right? Our customers is the entire community. So in another word, we think that if the market is wealthy, and people will start to spend, and then we create a win-win situation to us, right? So I think from our perspective, I think what government have announced earlier is okay. And I think if government have to wanted to deep dive into different industry, I think we can try to help the tourism industry, the F&B industry. F&B industry, for example, if people haven't go, digitalize, how do we actually help them to adapt these things faster, right? And then the farmers, of course, the farmers and the fishermen. I think these are the industry that we need bigger help from the government. As for us, we are in the retail industry. The impact is there, but if you just compare in the retail industry, we are selling necessity. Actually, I think the impact will be manageable. After the lockdown period ended.
Okay. Maybe I'll give you this two scenario questions. First, of course, the MCO, the lockdown. If we were to be allowed to go back to our normal life after the 14th of April, what will happen to the overall market? Versus if the lockdown or MCO were to be extended, say about another 2 to 4 weeks time, what would be the repercussion that it will cause towards the overall economy, the market, as well as the lifestyle of people? Maybe you can share some of your insights on that.
Okay. Just to clarify that you are comparing whether the lockdown
Yes.
Is ending on 14
Yes.
or pending, and what is
Yes.
the impact to
Yes.
the business market.
Correct.
I think generally we are talking about mainly supply chain, right? Supply chain is facing a big problem regardless is open or not open. That have to be smooth. Then if it's lockdown ended, of course, DIY stores nationwide, they can open as usual.
Correct.
It's definitely a good news for us, and a good news for a lot of people also, because
Correct.
we even see people sharing on the social media saying that, oh, I have a broken pipe or something on my ceiling is broken, it's so dangerous, and then no way I can buy all these things. So I think it's good for the people as well. And then if it's and then we will really focus on a lot of essential products. We do have F&B, food and beverage, and then we have a lot of essentials products such as home cleaning products, hand sanitizers, masks, you name it, we have everything. So we really focus on those things to make sure that all the citizens in Malaysia can able to grab that things easier, right? So that was the plan, right? Of course, we hope situation will get better. We hope once everything is on track, then of course we will follow the rules and then try to make sure everything's in good shape. So now we talk about if extended. If it's extended, again, we will try to explore whether the twice a week opening is doable, right? Based on the latest rule, some of the states they are implementing. So because we think people need something from our store, and we are selling essential things, right? Maybe it's not like food or etc., but it's something people need when they are staying at their home. It's very important. And then we will focus on e-commerce. We will make sure that when people order, and then we can really make the expectation and then to send everything smoothly, right? And lastly, the bulk orders things have to be ongoing to support a lot of organizations when after this period ended, when the government announced the lockdown period end, I believe a lot of organizations, they need to have sanitizers, masks, or other equipment, or even they need all these things to do CSR. So all these things have to be ongoing.
Yeah. So Andy, what would be the best strategy, marketing strategy should entrepreneurs adopt now to make their brand more significant and to create more awareness out there? What is the best advice that you can give in terms of the marketing strategy?
You see, at this period from a marketing line, I think first thing the brand must do is to switch the marketing budget online, right? If you are still, putting budget on other non-relevant things, right, then you'll be facing problems. So online, of course, is the thing, right? But it also you need to adjust based on your situation. A lot of brands we know right now, they are actually cutting all their events and cutting all their launch, right? And probably they're postponing all these things. So a lot of like event industries or this PS system supplier, they are all facing difficulties. So doing this adjustment is essential for all the everyone that focus on marketing, and then whether we can push it further, or you need to be really confident when is the next launching day. So I think in short, a lot of things has been really pushed further or being delayed. So to make sure we are not wasting the resources in terms of money and time to do the planning, but ending up nothing is happening. And then I think the second point will be, when we talk about looking contribution at each opportunity. So it's like what ways your brand can be helpful to people and businesses at this difficult time. So I think brands have to start thinking, a lot of brands, right? Right now you probably cannot operate your business, but you still have to maintain your communications to your fans or maybe to the third party or etc. So you need to try to think of what value or what kind of benefit that you can start giving to your consumer. I think brands like GrabFood, Astro, they did a great job. Like Astro, they released all the channels to everyone to watch for free. This is a very good initiative because now everyone is staying at home, and probably after the lockdown period ended, a lot of people will subscribe to Astro Full channel because they have been used to this for so long already. Right? And then like Grab, they are probably have some really good initiative to make sure that they have sufficient people to really push and make sure the delivery is arriving on time. At least I ordered quite a lot of Grab recently, and it's all so kudos to to Grab team on that. So I think my point is for the organizations that you can contribute, please do so. And for the organizations that you couldn't, right? Try to think of any initiative. We've seen a lot of positive things coming in, even from our supplier. They know we are doing CSR and they wanted to be part of it. They say, "Hey, Andy, I can give you, some plastic bag, some safety shoes. Can you help us to give to the hospitals?" Because they don't have that connection, but we do. So we also act as a main channel to help all these parties to gather all these things to distribute to people that needs. I think that is essential on marketing. And then again, the next one would be to change priorities to navigate uncertainty, right? So just now I mentioned that to consider the most relevant campaign or product to life right now, right? We've seen that a lot of movie distributors that have delayed their live movie time, and then if you wanted to launch a product, probably this is a good moment. So you have to reevaluate all the campaigns and really think of how do you plan for Q3, Q4, and maybe 2020 Q1. A lot of things you have to push forward, right? A lot of budget you have to redo the budget. I know it's painful, but this is essential, right? And then lastly, context. You need to have good context, right? So this is a global pandemic, right? But with local impact. Why I'm saying that is because even in Southeast Asia, different countries, they have different cases, different rules to treat these things, right? So consider you are a brand that you have businesses in a lot of countries. You cannot use one formula to hit everything. You have to put the local context into consideration, right? And emphasize in giving the right campaign to the right audience in the local market is very, very important at this moment.
Yeah.
So I think this is some of the marketing strategies as a marketer can think of right now. Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Thanks for the sharing. Andy, the other thing is, right now, employer and employee relationship for most of the company is not at all-time comfort level. Why? Because there are discrepancy in terms of expectation. Some of the owner might say some of the staff job description or job scope just cannot be done at home. For example, some of the certain specific selling that is just so much durable for them to do it at home. So of course frictions will happen. What for your advice, what would be the best thing for us as an employer or entrepreneurs to build trust and realign our staff with our company values? Because I know for your group, Mr. DIY Group, with more than 10,000 staff, is also not easy to realign and also build trust during these so-called difficult times. Maybe you can share your experience with us.
So I think it may be hurtful, but this is the truth. Rules number one, pay salary on time. Right, salary still have to go on time. So there's a logic behind that, of course, because there are a lot of uncertainty in the market, and a lot of employees, they may need, that income to buy things for their children or their families to stay at home, right? So even when we are planning before the lockdown happened and we are doing planning, we start to identify what are the important departments that you need to still go on, and you need to speak every team, regardless what happened. Number one is actually payroll department, in our opinion, because we think that this is something that cannot get affected. Even before the lockdown has put into consideration, we are talking about splitting AB team, because we try to avoid, if you still need to come to work, if anything had happened, if the whole team get, touch wood, get something wrong, then the whole process is going to get disrupted, and this will cause a big issues to a company, right? So paying salary on time is a commitment between the employer and the employees, because you need to reassure the job security, right? Of course, the second point is, just KK, you mentioned about
Yes.
some work you cannot work from home, some work you need to work on site, you cannot do all these things. I think a lot of arrangements have to be made in the organization. Like, for example, my case is very simple because I have an e-commerce business to run.
Yes.
So basically, we are still working, right? But I have another marketing team that, they have to really work from the office. So what we are doing is, we try to reshuffle and make sure that different people can cover each other. And then if you are in a business that during this period you really have nothing to do, I think it's actually a good time for the employer to start to think of, is there any unfinished project or unfinished proposal? Or can you consider team building or other things at this moment? For sure, there are something that, with the benefit of technology, you have Zoom call, everything can be still ongoing, right? You can have training at this time, or maybe you can, conduct internal department things to work up your SOP. You don't have an SOP last time, but this is a time for you to work up and review the SOP and redo your company planning or your department planning and so on. So I think it's more on how the managers is assigning the staff, the task to the subordinates or to the employees respectively, right? So if I think this wouldn't happen because for sure I will arrange something for my staff to do.
All right.
Yeah. So so I think that's my view on that, and I think at this time, communicate regularly is very important, right? You need to let them know what is the latest things that is happening, what is the latest update for the top management, what is the next arrangement. You can you can run town hall on Zoom or send an announcement on WhatsApp or get the HR team to do, this pulse check and different things constantly. And when people feel connected to the organizations, and then they really will think of the company first before making any decision.
Yeah, that's important. And the other thing, of course, this show, the main intention for this show is to send out as much positive vibes as we can, through the motivation, because we know a lot of entrepreneurs out there, they are still finding their ways. They are still executing the best, so-called the best strategy. And everyone is hopeful. Everyone is hopeful that this crisis will go away as fast as possible and everything will come back as normal, come back to normalcy again. And of course, lastly, I would like you to, share some of the insights or words of wisdom or, inspiration that can help our entrepreneur community, push them up, elevate them up to the next level so that they have more confidence to go through this challenging time.
Yeah. So I think if you are an investor, you will see a lot of opportunity right now, but maybe try to think twice or maybe 3 times before investing, because there are a lot of uncertainty in the market.
Yes.
Try to avoid risky investment at this moment, because we don't know when is the winter is going to over, right? So a healthy cash flow is very important for businesses, for entrepreneurs. And if we need to make sure that to sustain the company, all these things are in place, regardless is to pay salary or to pay rental and other things. So I think cash flow, a healthy cash flow is very important. Avoid risky investment. I think this is the very important thing. Sure. Second, I think this is one of our DNA in our company. Keep trying, right? Try new ideas. In fact, in the past 3 weeks, the story is different every day, and we are doing a lot of new attempts day by day, right? A lot of new attempts. Is crazy. So today we try this format, and then after that, we have the personal shopper things coming out, and then after that, bulk order, excellent, and then suddenly things coming from plane, and then e-commerce, suddenly my warehouse have facing a lot of problem because the orders coming in. So I think keep trying, try new ideas during this period, think out of the box. and then you will have something for sure. Of course, the constraint is, being locked down, you can't do anything, but
True.
keep trying. Who knows? There will be something, miracle really happen, and you will get the opportunity. And then I think teamwork is very important. Staying as a team and leave no man behind. And then they will remember you and your company for life, right? I think we need to take care of our employees at this difficult moment, making sure everyone is in good condition, physically or mentally, and then make sure that when these things is over, we have a very good environment for people to save for working. So I think that is very, very important. And last but not least, I think this is something common, but I still have to share this. Never give up, right? Never give up. There's like what I need to quote what our Prime Minister said earlier. There's always a rainbow after the rain. So don't give up. After this period, things will become better for sure. All right.
Thank you very much, Andy, for your very good sharing. Of course, like what you say, we have to believe in miracle in order for miracle to happen. With teamwork, really take care of all our employees. I think they also in return will help us go through this difficult time. Most importantly, for all the entrepreneurs outside, like what Andy shares, never give up. I know and we know it's not easy, but as long as you hold on to it, you will have a chance of recuperating, of surviving, and in fact, you might 2x, 5x, or even 10x your business after that. All right. Thank you everyone for watching, and thank you very much, Andy, for sharing with us. Stay safe.
Thanks for having me. Stay safe.
Thank you.
I will see you soon.
All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.